Okay, so I'm here today with my friend and fellow Keller Williams agent, Anna Perez-Mackenzie. Anna, thanks for coming by today.
How are you, Charles?
I'm good. Today we're going to be talking about 5 reasons why you should either rent or buy a home in the Austin area. So Anna, why would somebody want to either rent or buy? Number one, we got to explore both sides of it. So rent versus why? What do you think?
I think I would probably want to buy right now because the prices are getting a little bit more stable. It's getting into a buyer's market, even though the interest rates are a little bit higher. And I saw that they're going to be jacked up a little bit more. But prices still are coming down, and I still see on the MLS reduced.
Well, that's the first thought in a potential buyer's mind. If they're coming down now, what's it going to look like in 6 months or a year?
Exactly. Do you think they're going to still keep going down?
If we had that crystal ball, I mean, we'd all be millionaires. But again, that's kind of like the thinking. It's like if I'm renting, I'm not going to buy something that's going to depreciate in a year. So that would be an advantage for renting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and also, another advantage for buying right now is if they are jacking up their interest rates. If you saw something that, for instance, a client of mine saw a piece of land that was reduced $105,000.
105, wow, that's pretty good.
In Elgin. Yeah. Very cool piece of land, 3.5 acres. I would jump on that right now before the interest rate gets that high.
So you're kind of tied to that interest rate.
Yeah, so you're tied into the interest rate that is today instead of the one that's going to be a little bit higher in a few, we don't know when the feds are going to do that. But I think if you're a buyer and you've been checking the market for a year and a half, you're doing a comparison right now of what a home in a certain area is looking like versus back then to now. You know what deal you're getting is what I think.
But so what about this? Play the devil's advocate. What if I buy a house and I get a new job and I've got to sell that house and it's down like it is now? If I'd have bought that house a year ago and tried to sell it today, I probably couldn't get what I paid for it.
Oh, if you bought it a year ago, you're probably negative equity.
Well, that's my point. So again, it's coming back to the discussion of rent versus buy. Wouldn't that be an advantage to rent?
I think if you compare to the prices that we were having back a year ago, or even 6 months ago, you are way off. Like right now, I think the stabilization of the market is making it a lot easier for buyers to come in and not think they're going to lose equity.
Okay, so if we're to sum this up, we're going to talk about 5 reasons. The number one reason, from your perspective, to buy is
you're getting a deal.
You're getting a deal. You're getting it for less money than you would have paid 6 months or a year ago.
Of course.
But on the rent side, there's a risk associated with that because they could continue to go down, or you're paying a higher interest rate. I mean, the cost of financing the same amount of money is substantially more. For every percentage point increase that goes up, your payment increases.
You're talking about rent.
I'm talking about the mortgage payment. Just for the
your
principal
mortgage payment. But for instance, if you're paying a mortgage payment that's $3,000, that's the median rent here now.
No.
So it depends. Do you have the $3,000 to give to somebody else and make somebody else wealthier? Or do you want to, invest that in something that's actually yours and you're getting a better deal and you're getting, equity out of it and you're not negative equity? I think that's where you gotta understand and be an intelligent buyer to where you know the market, you know where it was 6 months ago, you know where it's going, and you have a real estate agent that actually tells you the truth.
The truth, as opposed to
the untruth. The untruth.
Well, which nobody wants that. I mean, especially if you listen to politicians, for instance.
I know, exactly.
Anyway, so 5 reasons. So number one, the number one reason to buy a house would be the equity, the deal. What's another reason? Are there any others? I mean, because from a renter's perspective, and I've seen this blasted on different media outlets, don't buy because you're tied to the house. You don't have that flexibility to move whenever you want.
Well, if you're tied to the house or you're not, you're actually building wealth with something that you already bought because you can rent it out.
If it continues to go up.
Exactly.
Right.
And the rent in Austin, I was just reading that it's the number one, it went up 108%. It's the number one city where the rent has gone up in a year. 108. Number one.
Probably because of property taxes.
You got to go contest that.
Right.
You got to do a homestead. You know, it's very important to know all these things, you know, in Texas, so you're not hit with a big old tidal wave of property tax, because people come here and they think, oh, I'm not paying that state tax. And then you see the property tax and you're like, whoa. So those are things that you got to check.
Well, that's a very good point. But, you know, again, comparing the advantages, disadvantages of rent versus buy, certainly that cost of ownership. I don't have to pay property tax if I'm renting.
Exactly.
I mean, I do pay them in a sense. If they go up, they're going to raise my rent. But I'm not going to be a scenario like some people have seen, where their property tax or their appraised value has nearly doubled in like a 3-year period. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the taxes are going to triple.
Can you contest that, the appraisal?
Well, see, there's a lot of things involved with it. The first one is the homestead. That's going to limit you to only be able, for tax purposes, to increase it by 10%.
Okay.
The other piece of it is there are limits on how much tax the dollar amount of taxes they can collect.
Okay.
It's like they have a budget already established. It's 3.5%. Above that, anything more than that requires voter approval, which means if everybody's house has seen an increase in the appraised value, there's probably going to be adjustment in the percentage.
Still, I mean, wherever you're buying it, that's why when I have first-time home buyers, that they are totally oblivious to property taxes. So a lot of them don't know.
Oh, I got you.
You know, like the 1.8, 2.2. Where in Austin is a good place to to actually have a lower property tax? A lot of people don't know these things.
Usually the most expensive areas.
I know that, but I think Austin is the great thing about Austin right now is it's growing 360.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe that a lot of I live in Buda.
Oh, really?
I love Buda.
Okay.
But I've gone to Elgin and I've seen, for instance, these properties in Elgin that are coming up, and there's really great little areas in Elgin. And you have places up north, Bertram, you have, Belton. I bought a house in Belton when I first moved here. And Belton is amazing because it's an hour away from the city, but you have that high school, that high-tech high school in the downtown area that a lot of people don't know about. And that's like an added value if you have children that you're looking for a high-tech school that's being funded by Facebook, Google, and it's a charter school and anybody can go to the school, and it's right there downtown Belton.
Belton,
yeah.
Okay.
And it's got all these rivers and cute places. But that home, for instance, well, when I bought it, it was substantially cheaper. And now it went up. But I think the thing is just being informed. Like, I think at the end of the day, you have to be informed when you're going to make this decision. But when you're building wealth, you need to buy stuff.
Right.
You need to buy. You need to buy wherever you're going to live, and you need to have a plan, and you need to understand financially what it's going to cost you, the real cost.
The real cost. Okay. So, 5 reasons. The first one we talked about quite a few of them. I'm just trying to kind of like distinguish them, right? Because you hit on several things. One is the area with respect to school districts and specific schools if you want the high tech, and also the amenities. I mean, you alluded to it with rivers and country and all that. If that's part of the lifestyle, those types of things would play into, finding the right area that you would like to, establish roots.
Exactly.
On the opposite side, if I were a renter, I wouldn't necessarily be tied to that one area for a long period of time. I'd have the ability to maybe check out several.
Yeah.
But on the other side,
and it's cheaper rent to go out, to Elgin.
Well, yeah, compared to downtown, stuff. Correct. Actually, the other side of that is it's cheaper to buy out there as well.
It is.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, with home ownership, you have the option or the ability to build equity. Rent, you don't. On the owning a home side, you will pay taxes, you will pay insurance, and we didn't talk about this, but you also have the cost of maintenance. If it's an older house, there are likely going to be some things you're going to need to replace. If it's I've talked about this in other videos. If it's brand new, your cost of maintenance is very low.
Very low.
Initially, probably for the first 5 to 10 years.
Exactly.
On the renter side, I never have to pay for that.
Never.
Yeah. So all told in this market, there is a lot of uncertainty. And I think talking to the different buyers that I've had the opportunity to talk with and attempt to help get a home or make a decision is the biggest kind of drawback or the reluctance seems to be what's coming next. You know, I mean,
Well, isn't that like that's how it is in the real estate market?
Well, yes and no, right? But because I think that we could look at history and realize that no matter how bad it might get, whether actually or what they're going to tell you on some kind of news story, right, about what's coming, is that there has always been these cycles.
Of course.
And my point, and the point I'm trying to get to is this, is that if you believe that the Austin area will continue to produce the types of jobs they have over the last, let's say, 20 years, that's a pretty good indication that the area is going to continue to grow. So if you are in a period of time where values to purchase a home are low, and you believe that we're going to come out of this eventually, then, as you pointed out, is that this may be the absolute perfect time, to buy a house.
Yeah, and I think it has, like you just mentioned, the high tech of what's going on in Austin. And not only high tech, I love to be informed of the area and what's coming, of all the areas of Austin. Okay. And there's a big movie industry moving in here. For instance, there is 586 acres that have been bought in Bastrop that it's going to be a movie theater. There's 200 and something acres that have been bought in San Marcos. That's also going to be movie theater, the movie production. Production, correct. It's going to be not theaters, but production. So you have that industry also coming in the next few years. Also, you have, I call it it's kind of the San Antonio to Austin. You have that area where they are building lots of places that are going to cater, for instance, to Tesla. Right. You have the company that's doing the batteries for Tesla or some chips for Tesla. So you have that corridor that is actually has a lot of potential that a lot of buyers don't actually know about. So when I talk to a buyer, I say, okay, look, if you want to buy in Bastrop, this is the industry that's going to be really hot in Bastrop in 5 years. So you got to decide upon, what's going on. Also up north, the Samsung. So I think Austin has kind of the potential to actually kind of get an idea just because of what you said, because we know that these industries are actually here, they've been here, and they are growing and more are coming here. I think we've covered a lot of ground here, and I think that if someone were to watch this video, they probably could kind of dissect and pull out. This wasn't necessarily a top five. Well, it's not a presentation, which I think might be more useful because we just attempted to cover, like I said, a lot of ground, and I think we accomplished that. So the question is, would you buy or would you rent, Charles? Oh, would I personally? Well, as a real estate agent, it's my obligation to look out for the best interest of my clients. So my opinion doesn't matter. That is true. Yeah. We have a fiduciary duty. I like it. To our clients. All right. So I will, me personally, right now what I'm doing, I rent until the 31st, but I'm waiting like 2 to 3 months, and I think I'm going to buy a little farm. You're going to buy a little farm? A small farm. What do you mean, like under 500 acres? I wish. Well, you said like little. 5 acres. It's not, you're talking, what are those ranches they got? Like the King Ranch, that one up north with all the... Oh my goodness, I wish. That's a ranch. I grew up on an 800-acre farm from my grandfather in Panama, in the country of Panama. I got you. So I love, farm life. I love all that stuff. So what kind of stuff do they grow on the farm in Panama? In Panama, we grew pineapples. It was a pineapple farm. There's no pineapple farms in Texas. I know. I wish there was, though. Yeah. But you can grow stuff here in Texas. Yeah. I've seen, it's not, you got to play with the soil. You got to give it a little bit of love. Yeah. There's a lot of soil. It depends on what part of the state. Yeah. All right. But, I think that's what I'm going to do. And anything you guys would want to do and you want to give me a call, I think you're going to put my... Exactly. Correct. It's time. Let's kind of wrap it up. Is that all of our contact information is below this video. If you had any comments, don't hesitate to let us know what we might do to improve or what type of topics you might want to hear about. So until next time,